Hey everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I am building something that I'm so excited to share, which is the house and restaurant, or the apartment and the restaurant from the show Bob's Burgers. I love Bob's Burgers, and around this time of year, like the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I just feel like called to the show for some reason. I think it's because there's always a Thanksgiving special and it's just like a cozy family cartoon, and I really enjoy it. So I thought today we would go ahead and build Bob's Burgers. It's a very strange colored building where the outside is this bright lime green color, and then there are yellow windows, and it's a burger restaurant with an apartment on top for a family of 5. There are 2 parents and 3 kids, and it was a process to build this, including just creating the sign on the front of the building because we don't really have anything that looks like it. So I ended up rotating a lot of different items around and using Tool to make them go together as best as possible. This was my first attempt, but then I ended up switching it out and using these mirrors instead, because you can't really scale mirrors because the actual reflective surface stays the same size and leaves a hole, but I put them backwards so that is kind of like tucked into the wall because I loved the colors on the back of these mirrors. So we are using the red and the yellow here, and then I put some text on the front of it from a normal sign that we just have in the game. And that is how I created the sign on the front of the restaurant. So I should be placing that up there and then getting some lights up above this window, which I'm going to be changing because I end up extending the size of this house so many different times because I couldn't get the floor plan to work out inside with the scale I originally created. So you'll see me doing that. I also end up having the shells of the buildings next door to this. So those will be there, but they are not decorated on the inside. I just wanted to have it look like they had the correct facades. So you'll see those. So we are starting on this one, which is always changing out to be different places. It's constantly a different rental property. Like, it's sometimes abandoned, sometimes it's a different business. It's just different every single episode. So I kept the signage out there kind of generic, and I hung a banner over it like coming soon or just advertising something else. I'm pretty sure the thing I hung up was an ad for the pier from high school years, and I thought that that worked really nicely because there is that sort of amusement space in the worlds of Bob's Burgers, so I thought it was a fun idea to go ahead and advertise that there. And the tall blue building right next to Bob's Burgers is a funeral home called It's Your Funeral Home and Crematorium, which is a crematorium that is operated by Mort. So I wanted to make sure that was there as well. It's fairly similar to the shape the building has in the show, but it's a little bit different based on what we have in the game, and my main focus was obviously on Bob's Burgers. I just wanted to get the gist of the other two, so hopefully they are decent, and if you decide you'd like to download this build, you'll be able to grab them as is, and if you want to decorate the interior of them, you can go ahead and do that. Also, I just wanted to let you know that there is a massive Black Friday sale going on right now in the EA app. So now is the perfect time to pick up those packs you've been thinking about, and for a discount. Many of the packs are 50% off, and Island Living is 60% off. Plus some packs that haven't gone on any kind of sale yet, like Love Struck, which is now 25% off. So if you want to treat yourself and snag some Sims packs at a discount, now would be a great time for that. And please consider using my code Gryphi at checkout. You just enter it when purchasing on the EA app, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. It's just another way to support me as a creator. So thank you in advance if you decide to use my code, and thanks to EA for sponsoring this portion of the video. Just continuing to work on the facade of the crematorium now and adding some different windows. I just wanted to get it as accurate as possible where these windows kind of protrude from the building. So I ended up using these ones from Get Together and some like awnings in that area as well, and I'm just stacking those now. And then I really wanted the street to also look accurate, and there is this really long power line that goes over the road, and there ends up also being a mailbox and a couple of other things. So I was just trying to grab all of those things from debug and place them in the correct spot. And a little bit later on in the build, I will be pushing the rest of the lot backwards to add a street in front of this. I am building it in the world of San Myshuno, which came with City Living. This particular area, the Spice District, is inspired by New York, and Bob's Burgers takes place in New Jersey. So I feel like it just really fit the aesthetic that I was going for. Obviously, the colors are a little bit brighter than what you see in the background, but the style of the buildings I felt like fit perfectly in this space. But this is the abandoned next door space, or the one that's constantly being rented out. So I have a blank sign there, and then I covered it with this banner here advertising the amusement area. And then we are starting to play around with the staircase and the inside of Bob's Burger, the floor plan, and I really struggled with this for a while. I ended up cutting out so much footage because it was horrible to watch how many times I rescaled the rooms and moved them around to make it as accurate as possible while also making sure it was still functional. So it was quite a process, which makes sense because a lot of times houses from movies or shows don't make a lot of sense, whether it's because they're animated or the scale of that to The Sims doesn't make sense because maybe there's something that's technically on a half tile and we can't do that in The Sims. So it's not perfect, but I think it came out really good and I'm quite happy with it. But definitely let me know what you think in the comments, and if you are a fan of Bob's Burgers. I assume if you're still listening at this point in the video, you probably are, but maybe not. Let me know either way. So I've done the basic floor plan on the upstairs of the building where the apartment is going to be. There's a couple of things that are going to move around, like there aren't that many windows in Tina's room. There ends up being none in Louise's room, which is accurate because in the show, her room, it used to be a closet, so there are no windows in there. But I end up adjusting Tina's room because from all angles, you don't see any windows, but then on the outside where her room is, there's a window, so that's where I placed it. Anyway, downstairs now I am trying to fit in the booths, and this was one of the biggest headaches of this entire build is how big these booths are. They do not fit downstairs, no matter what I tried. So what I ended up doing was I kind of clipped them through the wall, and I have a platform in between the buildings covering them. Because in order to fit the size of the booths that we have in The Sims with the counter here, it just wasn't going to make sense because the booths in the show are a lot smaller than the ones we have in the game. So I am playing around with that. I also wanted to make sure I got the blue window here. That is the like order window, because usually how it is Linda's behind the counter, and then in the back in the kitchen is where Bob is preparing all the food. And the kids are usually out in the front as well, helping out or just like hanging out, doing homework, talking about random things. And of course, Teddy is always sitting at the counter as well. He's basically always there. Here I'm creating a custom board to be the burger of the day. I am just using this chalkboard menu from Dine Out, and I used some of those same mirrors I used outside for the front sign backwards to create the frame. And then I'm figuring out everything behind the counter. There's an ice cream machine back here, but we don't really have that in The Sims. So I decided to use a like drinks machine scaled down that I placed up here. I thought that that worked pretty well and felt realistic to what you might find behind the counter of a restaurant or a diner. So I did that. And then there are a few different items in the game that have ketchup bottles or other condiments. So I placed those all around. And then I tried to replicate some of the art they had in here. Obviously, we're not going to have exacts. So there is a burger that has like wings and is flying through the sky. So I just put this burger on top of this other painting from Seasons, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it's cats and dogs. Either way, I put that over there and I thought it looked really nice. I also hung up some slips of paper. I was kind of imagining this is where orders were written down to send back to Bob to prepare in the kitchen. I had a lot of fun adding little details like that that just felt realistic, or more of the sort of Easter eggs to specific episodes in the show. Like right now I'm decorating part of the crawl space, which is a little bit bigger than I think it actually is in the show. I ended up having it wrap around where the bathroom is. And the bathroom is very weird. If you're watching this and you haven't seen Bob's Burgers, you're going to be very confused when I decorate the bathroom because it doesn't make any sense. Technically, in the Sims version of it, there are no toilets, but you'll see when we get in there, and it's quite fun. I also added the vent over here, which kind of connects to that crawl space, and adding the TV that's mounted in this corner was interesting because it's on an angle and it has a mount that's underneath it. So I ended up using this light from the bowling stuff pack and rotating it with tool and kind of merging it into the bottom of the TV to look like it is the mount. And I thought it looked so nice. And then I'm grabbing some shelves over here to put a bunch of different condiments on. There's just like so much ketchup all over this restaurant. It's absolutely everywhere, which makes sense. But we only have so many options. So I was trying to rotate things and make it look as unique as possible. So it wasn't just like the exact same, I guess, way they were placed, because it's fine to have a bunch of the same bottle, but them being placed exactly the same with some other items just felt a little odd. And then I'm playing around with the windows. I end up changing them a couple of different times, and I add some more sauce and stuff up here. I also wanted to make sure I included some paper towels by the sink, And then we are starting to decorate the wall over here. Right here, there's actually a burger neon sign, but we don't have that. I thought about using that same burger decal that I have on the other wall, but I thought it was just too repetitive, so I ended up using this instead. There's also a menu over here, and then over on the other side, well, first over here, there's a burger, which we don't put because we don't have that many burgers. I put fries instead. And then over here, there's actually a burger as well, but it's like stacked like those pears are, where you can see the individual bun and all of the different toppings. So I decided the pears were close enough, and then I put a plum bob up above it. I thought that was cute. And then we are working on the back of the restaurant. It's very small. It didn't really make a ton of sense with the floor plan, in my opinion. So I did the best I could with the limitations of The Sims, and the actual cook station is not where I would like it to be, but it doesn't make sense that way, and I wanted the back to look kind of accurate, so some of it is in the correct spaces and other things are more so inspired by how the restaurant looks. So hopefully that is okay. So I'm just decorating with some clutter back here, some mats for them to stand on while they are working on things, and then I'm adding some more counter pieces over here where I'm trying to think what else I put over in that space. I played around with it quite a bit. I also got a couple of fridges back here and a little bit of cabinetry, just trying to fill in all the space. I got some extra appliances. So there is a hot pot and a pressure cooker. I also got that little drawing that shows the different pieces of the llama and like what cuts of meat they are. Thought that that was an interesting piece to add back here. And of course, lots of utensils and spices and all of that sort of stuff. So that's the majority of how this kitchen is going to look. I'm just adding a couple more clutter pieces. And through that archway, there's going to be a space with a couple more fridges and I believe like a trash can and stuff. I'm just kind of looking at this from all the different angles so that I can see how it's looking. I was so happy with it. We have some extra storage back here for food that is from Dine Out. And I got a little like mat right to this door. And then this door here is actually to the crawl space. I can't remember if I kept the door there or not because you have to actually access that through not a door. But we will get to that. Anyway, this is going to be the bathroom. As you can see, it looks like there's just 3 sinks, and it doesn't really fit the aesthetic of the rest of the place because the bathroom in Bob's Burgers is like modern, sleek, and black, and there are 3 structures in there, and the joke is that they can't tell the difference between which one's a toilet, which one's a sink, and which one's a urinal. So they look pretty much like that, so I just put 3 of those sinks from the Eagle Lifestyle expansion. And now we are upstairs working on the apartment and starting with the living room. I really couldn't find a floor that was the exact color I wanted, so I go back and forth a couple of different times between a really bright red rug, this like foam stitched together flooring, and a regular floor. And I also was really excited to have a painting up above the sofa that is of a diner because in the show there is a picture of Bob's dad's restaurant. And so I thought that that was perfect. And also the little dog toy I scaled up on the bedside table. Well, technically I think it's a bedside table, but the side table next to the couch, I was imagining that was the phone here because they have a corded phone that looks like a burger. So that's what that's supposed to be. There's also a bright magenta chair in here, and I added some games on the table here as well as a remote and a place to throw your change and a bright yellow rug. And then there are these built-in shelves on the walls on either side of where the windows are. And so I kind of custom made these, but I don't decorate them until a little bit later. I kind of forgot for a while, but I come back and decorate these. I'm just adding the pieces of the shelf now to make it look like it did in the show. And then we are starting to place down where the TV is going to be. So we have a really big boxy TV here on top of a stand and then a variety of paintings up on the wall. I was really trying to get things as close as I possibly could, but obviously we don't have the same paintings in the game as we do in a cartoon. So I tried my best, and I also knew there was a plant over here with a blue pot, so I put that there. There's a bookcase, and I also added a video game console, and then I am starting to decorate these shelves. I end up having some plants in them and this pretty plate, and I also made sure to get a little rack for magazines. This is the hallway. You don't see this that much in the show, and some of the colors of the paneling throughout this house are not correct because we don't have the correct thing in the game. So I picked the closest thing I could find. And then we are moving on into the kitchen now, which I'm going to be extending a little bit so that I could fit the table in here because it's a pretty small kitchen and definitely a little bit more traditional, but with kind of fun colors. There's green countertops and sort of like a lime green yellowy tile. The version I use here is way brighter than what is in the show, but I thought it was the closest thing we had, so I should be changing for that shortly. And then there is a round table in here with 5 chairs for the 5 family members. And I'm grabbing that now. I believe the one I used is from Laundry Day, and I just kind of rotate it in the corner, and then I'm just decorating the countertops, trying to get as many of the items that were actually present here as possible. The problem was that there was a blender and a toaster, and we don't have those items in The Sims, so those are not included. Also, there is a microwave in here, which is placed on top of the fridge, so I just put it on the counter next to the fridge because unfortunately that's the only place you can place them in The Sims 4 without messing with cheats and stuff and having issues with them like snapping back down to other surfaces. I also added a bunch of art on the fridge, some notes here, and there's also going to be some kids' drawings. I just wanted it to look full and covered in little notes and stuff, which is definitely present in the show. So just doing that now. I am using some notes from Parenthood, and then the artwork is one of the pieces you can make on the activity tables with seasons. So that is what I'm using up there, and that's the majority of the kitchen. I have a couple more decorations I'm going to be adding in here, like there's a hanging plant in the corner by the table, and I believe a overhead fan. Yeah, so that's it for the kitchen, and we're moving into the bathroom. Once again, the colors in here are not quite right because we don't really have what they are in the game, but I tried my best. The layout is still correct, and I did have fun decorating this room with just like little things that they have, like this trash can that I used a couple of places in this house. It's not one I ever use, but it worked really nicely here. And then we are moving on into Bob and Linda's room. A huge part of this build was trying to make a decision between things being the right shape or the right color, or if part of it was the right color but the rest wasn't, what was better. So for their bed, I ended up actually using 2 single beds pushed together because it had the right color of blanket on it. And I thought that that was a little bit more recognizable. I also am making sure to paint the walls the correct color because I didn't do that till I got to each of the rooms. And then this yellow piece over here is not something you actually see. I just had a extra space that I didn't know what to do with, and I was having trouble finding a reference of that wall of their room, so I just did what I wanted. It might not be accurate, but I just felt like it needed something else over here. And then we are into Jean's bedroom now. Once again, trying to figure out what to do when it comes to a swatch we don't have in the game. There was green present and like a red blanket. It was really hard to figure out. He also has a keyboard, which I'm going to move to the other side of the room because at first I thought his bed was in the middle of the room, but it's actually tucked next to the windows. So I will be switching that. And then there is so much clutter on this wall here. There's a guitar, a place to hang up stuff, a trash can, a bookcase, a couple of shelves with some fun stuff on it. There's a banner hanging on the wall, some more posters. It looks like Jean really likes like robots and Gundams and all of that kind of idea. So I made sure to include a few items like that in here. And then there's some cars and books and things up on these shelves. Some of it is like pretty much what I saw in the screenshots, and other pieces are just like filler items to try and make the bookcase feel complete, or the shelves above it. And there was also a little radio up there, which I really liked. Both him and I believe Tina, or maybe was it Tina or Louise? I think Tina had this. And this is the radio that we just got from the Cozy Kitsch kit. So that really came in handy. But I'm just moving all of the pieces over now as I readjust the layout of this room to include the keyboard over there, which I thought worked really nicely. And we are moving on into Tina's bedroom. Tina's room is pink and purple and covered in horses. She loves horses and butts. That's Tina's whole thing. I love Tina. I think she's my favorite character, which is interesting because I don't have a pet named Tina. I have a cat named Louise, which is the youngest daughter, who I named my cat after. So, fun fact there. But anyway, this room was so much fun to decorate, trying to find all of the horse items and things that just feel like Tina would really like them. I got some colorful books over here. A little bit later, I'm going to be adding her glasses to her bedside table. I also got a radio over here. Oh yeah, I didn't end up using it. I ended up using the cat one instead. And I know her bed is like themed after cats. I don't think she has too big of a thing for cats. It was just the correct colors for what I needed. And since she liked horses so much, I felt like it just kind of worked having a bunch of animal themed things in this room. And then normally in the cartoon, her headboard, bedside table, and dresser are all the same shade of pink. But unfortunately, this is The Sims 4, so I had to have 2 different shades there. And then I'm just cluttering up the dresser here with like a jewelry box and some random other things as well. I believe there's also an extra lamp up here. I tried to stay pretty accurate to what I was seeing, but I do add a couple of extra items throughout. There's also a beanbag chair over here and a little shelf. It's not a little unicorn shelf like this. However, I found the unicorn shelf and thus I needed to use it. I think Tina would approve. Hers is plain, but I'm sure if it could be a unicorn or a horse, she would much prefer it to be. And then over here on this bookcase, I am adding a couple of horse statues and toys. I will be actually scaling down that bookcase a little bit later to make it a little bit shorter so I could fit in the desk that's going to be over here, which is also very pink. That one's from the kids' room stuff pack. So just getting a computer up there and a couple of decorations, including a unicorn, because why not? And some books. And that should be pretty much it for Tina's room. Just getting her glasses and a little journal. And then we should be moving on to Louise's bedroom, which is the smallest bedroom because it used to be a closet. It was never meant to be a kid's room, and now it is. It doesn't have any windows, it's very tiny, and it's quite colorful. There are some yellow shelves on the walls covered in stuffed animals. I made sure to include all of those in here. They're not the same as they are in the show, but I wanted to at least get the colors correct. And I thought that this bookcase was perfect over here. She has a really bright yellow bookcase kind of tucked over on this wall, a little bit shorter than the shelf. There's also a yellow rug in the room and another shelf over here with some more toys and stuff on it. So just making sure to get all of the personality into these rooms, and hopefully it comes across. I hope you think I did an okay job bringing this restaurant and the family apartment to life in The Sims. It was so much fun, and I'd love to do some more of these things. Once again, I've mentioned before, it's kind of limited to the things I've seen or I'm a fan of. So there's certain things that I'm probably not going to create, but if you have any ideas of what you'd like to see, especially as we enter into the month of December now, I would love to do some holiday builds. I have done a few from movies in the past, so obviously I'm probably not going to redo the ones I've done, but I would love to know what you would like to see, and hopefully I can implement some of those in the upcoming month. But with that, we are about to head on into screenshots. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. And a massive thank you to my YouTube members for all of your support. If you'd like to become a member yourself, you can click the join button below the video or the link in the description. And make sure to check out the sales on the Sims 4 packs on the EA app for Black Friday, and consider using my code Gryphi at checkout. Enjoy the screenshots, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye, everyone.